Is there a place in time where logic breaks down and wonderment begins? Could that be somewhere at some time along an infinite line between the reasonable and the highly unlikely? Join us on a journey into the improbable.
Makeshift Stories presents Episode 317, The Klotho Factor, read by Stephen Peterson. Opening and closing theme by Matthew Erdman. Somewhere and sometime, doing the right thing may not pay off.
There were 6 of them. The big dog things emerged from the snow-covered spruce trees as soon as my feet hit the ground inside the exclusive mountainside corporate research compound. They were wolves, no more like a domestic dog crossed with something almost human. At that moment, I regretted not drowning in self-pity and cheap booze as usual at the bar 2 doors down from my office. Sure, something red and viscous dripped from their leader's fangs. Had I interrupted dinner? But it was their gear that threw me. Woven carbon fiber rucksacks, radios with headsets, and some unseen voice directing them. The alpha, an enormous wolf shepherd thing, barked. Orders? The others appeared to respond, surrounding me and pushing me up against the 3-meter-high chain link. Their leader edged closer, sniffing. "Hey, I took a shower this morning, but you guys smell like wet dogs." That didn't go down too well. The alpha growled and bared its teeth. "Just joking, man. That's when I noticed the badge on its harness, Boundary Security. It sounded familiar. Maybe I had crossed paths with them before, back in the day when I was with IP enforcement in Cascadia's capital, Vancouver. It was hard to say, and certainly not relevant to my current predicament. "Good boy, or, girl? You smell good." I lied, pressing my back to the fence. It cocked its rather large, toothy head. A tiny voice was saying something through its headset. It snapped around and barked twice at a collie, wolf, golden cross, who produced a pair of handcuffs from its backpack. Guess I wasn't going to be swapping case stories with old Fido here. I should have really asked for more money. Yeah, apparently even a lost pet case can go dangerously sideways. 2 weeks ago, I wasn't expecting to be caged in by a squad of gene-modded security canines. 2 weeks ago, I was sitting in my office, nicely bored out of my skull, evading calls from the collection agents. Sure, my place of business isn't much, wedged between a weed shop and a payday loan outlet in a shabby strip mall on a less-than-glam block of McLeod Trail South. And yes, it was hard to find behind the tent city that had accumulated in the parking lot, clients for the weed shop, payday loan, and cover for me. It was a good place to avoid the complications of my past. I kept an old couch in the back room that served as my apartment. The location worked for my clients, few that there were, mostly the spouses of cheating mid-tier executives, low-end fraudsters, small-time IP infringers, stuff that kept me off corporate radar. They were the type of people who didn't want to be recorded on CCTV walking into a private investigator's office. Thanks to the residents of the parking lot encampment, the local cameras were vandalized faster than they could be put up. So I was more than surprised when the door buzzed open, and she walked in. On any typical day, Olivia Lee could make even the most high-end office feel shabby in her presence. When she stepped through the door, my place went from dumpy to dumpster fire. I nervously tried to shovel paper cups, half-eaten frozen dinners, and unpaid bills into the wastebasket. Without thinking, I hit the hidden trigger under my desk, spraying my new guest with invisible laser light. Minute variations in the spectrum of light emitted by a target's skin as it fluoresced encoded the manufacturer's ID and the types of alterations present. It was an old habit from my days as an IP agent, checking for unlicensed genetic mods. I glanced at the results on my desk screen. Lee was the haute couture of gene mods, straight from a Parisian runway. Nothing unlicensed, nothing anyone in my neighborhood could afford. The family made its money in biotech. Olivia was second generation, which made her old money in the Great Plains economic zone and most likely gene-modded in vitro. Satisfied? Lee asked. I saw the ceiling-mounted laser scanner when I walked in. I wouldn't have expected anything less from an ex-corporate IP agent. I tried not to let that oblique compliment knock me off my game. I think you took a wrong turn somewhere, ma'am. This ain't a Bel Air clinic, and I'm no esthetician. I agree, you're not, Lee gave me a feral smile. Rumor has it you were a top cop next door in Cascadia until you let your morals get in the way of enforcement. I squirmed in my chair, calculating how fast I could make it to the rear exit. I thought I had buried myself deep enough in Calgary's slimy underworld to avoid getting fingered about that little genetic scandal. Got me. I held up my hands in mock surrender. Hey, I had every intention of reporting that human embryo trafficking scheme. Eventually. I shrugged. Obviously, the executives at Genetics weren't impressed. They didn't care that I was trying to protect an innocent teenager. The elite designer baby salon her mother worked for was blackmailing the mother into manipulating viable embryo counts so they could siphon a few off to sell on the black market. Back then, I was gung-ho about the job and tagged the kid during a sweep at a concert, then followed her home. The salon wanted to keep the mother quiet. Just do it until she's 21, then we'll register the kid's mods, they told the mom. Victims, both. I might have misplaced their file while they slipped away. Sounds like I came to the right place, Lee confirmed, checking out my only other chair. She curled up her perfect designer nose, chose to remain standing, then dropped a large manila envelope on my desk. Open it, she encouraged. I eyed it suspiciously, a summons, a foreclosure notice, a warrant that, once I saw it, I would have been served. My eyes stayed on Lee. She huffed, then placed the largest roll of zone bills I had ever seen down beside it. They were backed by silver and gold, perfect for untraceable transactions. My mouth watered. It looked like enough to clear my debts and then some. That's the first part of your retainer. She thumbed a second bundle in her hand. Going to take a look in the envelope? Knowing better but letting the money talk, I picked it up and thumbed it open. A photo fell out, a picture of a rare sheepadoodle with a breed cut. Like its owner, a dog like that would never voluntarily enter a place like mine. I don't do lost pets. I draw the line at messy affairs, I objected, but the money was rapidly eroding my indignation. Zeus isn't lost. He was abducted in front of his dog daycare. I know you're good at finding things and keeping them on the QT. A second roll of zone notes landed on my desk. I'll make an exception, I said, grabbing both stacks of bills and sliding them into a drawer. Great. My name's Olivia. I know who you are, Ms. Lee. Jumping to that conclusion without DNA confirmation was my first mistake. Looks are literally only skin deep, and with a few million credits, you can appear to be anyone you want, provided they agree to license their image. In the less reputable mod clinics, licenses are optional. Sure, I was aware of that, but the provocative nature of her presence and the money had impaired my judgment. My second mistake was accepting the job. You'll take the case? I held out my hand. She took it and shook. My third mistake. However, that's when I noticed the only imperfection. A single dog hair, dark gray and brown, clung to the sleeve of her couture blouse. I plucked it off. From Zeus? She nodded. I should have handed it back. Instead, I shoved it in my pocket. My fourth mistake. Doesn't the dog place have a security company on retainer? They do, but they'd post a reward for return, and I need this handled discreetly. Zeus cost me more than 75 grand. He's very rare and very special. And you miss him, I persisted. Olivia's smile lacked enthusiasm as she handed me a card. That's the address of the dog daycare where Zeus was abducted. You don't seem broken up about losing him, I noted. Crying won't get my darling back, Mr. Tanaka. My contact info is on the other side. Keep me informed of your progress. And with that, Olivia Lee turned and walked out, careful not to touch anything. There were so many red flags that I should have run for the exit, but there were those 2 fat rolls of bills, and I'm embarrassed to admit I wanted to impress Ms. Lee. That's how I ended up in a place I never imagined being, an exclusive canine resort where the pooches ate better than 90% of the population. You'd expect a business servicing dogs to be located in an industrial park on the edge of town, but the Wagton Pet Spa was on the Elbow River in Rideau Park, one of Calgary's more exclusive neighborhoods. A gleaming glass structure had replaced a couple of last-century mansions, and a former public green space, fenced off with razor wire and electrified chain link, had become a private off-leash, beautiful and impenetrable. Lucky pooches. I was subjected to 3 body scans just to get past the guardhouse. Mister, what is your name again? The day shift supervisor, a woman who looked like she had stepped out of a page of Muscle magazine, asked. If I had run a portable scanner on her, I'm sure only the best fitness gene labs would have shown up. Tanaka. My name is Kenzo Tanaka, and I'm here about Zeus at Olivia Lee's request. Is she suing? The muscles in the woman's neck tightened. The incident occurred on the street outside our property. We had nothing to do with it, Mr. Tanaka. Her eyes nervously darted around, avoiding mine. Someone had gotten to her, probably the daycare's lawyers, and she wasn't going to say anything more. You have CCTV footage. I saw the cameras. They're everywhere, I pointed out. For what it's worth, you're welcome to it. Let me show you to our security office. I was impressed. The doggy daycare had CCTV, infrared, motion, and acoustic sensors, more security than a bank. Here's the footage, the guard monitoring the surveillance consoles announced. An SUV pulled up outside the gate, its side door scissored open, revealing Olivia in the front passenger seat. Ms. Lee always picks up Zeus like that, the guard explained defensively. One of us walks him out to the car. A little odd, but we always try to accommodate our clients. But it doesn't mean we're responsible, Mr. Tanaka. Our legal liability stops at the gate. That's in all our care agreements, the manager explained. We watched as Zeus entered the frame, and a blurry black figure ran in, grabbed the dog's lead from the hands of a startled daycare employee, then raced off. Olivia screamed. 2 Wagton security guards raced past. They had an accomplice waiting down the street. We couldn't catch them. No license plate number? Maybe from another CCTV camera? I suggested. They were parked just beyond where our camera can see, the manager stated for the record. And before you ask, it was one of those unmarked automated delivery vans. There's thousands around town. How convenient, I muttered. The manager was beginning to sweat. Something smelled at Wagton, and it wasn't doggy-doo. As I left for an instant, a camera lens glinted in the trees across the road, but when I checked, nothing was there except for a few broken branches. Despite applying the best industrial-grade image filters I could get my hands on, the blurry figure in the CCTV footage stubbornly refused to reveal its secrets. The perp had been wearing a light-diffracting hoodie, an expensive and rare piece of kit. It had been a professional snatch and grab, perfectly timed and executed, not an opportunist looking to squeeze cash from puppy love. Wagton's not going to lead anywhere, I explained to Olivia Lee. It was a clean professional job, no loose ends, and the staff's been coached by legal to keep their mouths shut. You need corporate-level security, not a small-time independent. No, you are corporate-level, Mr. Tanaka. Can I call you Kenzo? Olivia's smile was so bright that the camera irised down a few stops. I'll triple your daily rate and pay it up front. No one makes offers like that. I should have quit, but images of vacations in popular beach resorts got in the way. Okay, I agreed. I'll stay on the case another couple of days, until I pay off all my debts and buy that vacation, I muttered under my breath. Olivia sent an e-transfer, then broke the connection. I leaned back in my chair, thinking that all I needed to do was sit there and collect Lee's cash until she got fed up and fired me. Maybe I'd been an IP agent too long, but something in me said I should at least try. Out of habit, I pulled out my phone. There was a hair stuck to the screen. I was about to brush it off when I remembered. I had put it there when I first met Olivia Lee. It was her dog's hair. Carefully, I placed it in an envelope, then dialed an old friend. Hey, Uday, it's your old pal Kenzo. No, don't hang up. I'll be over in the next hour. Uday Kumar was the sole proprietor of a less than reputable gene modding studio where, as long as you had the money, anything was possible, legal or otherwise. I had helped him evade a copyright infringement claim from a big biotech whose logo dominates the downtown skyline. He owed me. His studio, located in the basement under a nail salon, a couple of blocks further south on McLeod, had no name and accepted clients only by referral. I'm here to see Uday, I said to the woman at the till. Never heard of him, she replied without looking up. He's expecting me. I laid down a few untraceable bills, smiling politely. She checked around, swept the money under the counter, then hit a hidden button. Beside the washrooms, use the broom closet door. I nodded and headed to the back. I found Uday with a man who had a few too many mods to disappear in a crowd. He gave me a black look, finished up, then sent his client away. When the door closed, Uday wheeled on me. So, what do you want? He growled. Hey, I thought you'd be happy to see your old friend Kenzo. I laughed nervously. We had never really been friends, just uneasy business associates, and that was pushing it. Uday could never entirely trust someone whose past career had shut down operations like his, but he had ways to get resources I couldn't. Just need a small favor. You owe me. Small, he grunted. Yeah, I need the DNA of a hare, fur sample run. Uday glared at me. Come on, rumor has it you have a new sequencer. Just drop this hair in. I dangled a small Ziploc bag. And call me when it's baked. Easy peasy. Then we're even? Scout's honor, I said, crossing my fingers behind my back. He owed me more than simply turning a machine on, and we both knew that. What is the hair from? A dog my client saw. She's thinking about cloning one for herself. Just wants to know the recipe before she drops $50,000. A pet boutique's not going to flag any renegade genetic defects. You know the game. I was back in my office the next morning, doom scrolling through ads for all-inclusive beach resorts, when Uday called. You need to walk away from this, Kenzo, and I don't want anything more to do with it. I had never heard him so panicked. Who the hell is your client? Wait, I don't want to know. Hey, slow down, Uday. What's got you so rattled? You don't know? Are you that stupid? You think I'm that stupid? Getting caught with that hair in your possession would get you a couple of decades in a northern work camp. I really don't know what you're talking about. I tried to sound calm, but knew I had fumbled the ball. I hadn't done the usual background checks on my generous new client. My mother used to say, "Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. But she was wrong. The bigger the gift, the more you should look. That hair is from a chimera dog, Uday explained nervously. It's got human DNA, proprietary sequences from a couple of big transnational biotechs. Stealing that tech is bad enough. Corporate IP agents will be on it like flies, and I'm already on their list. Worse is inserting human DNA into another animal species. No zone, not even the GPEZ, allows that. And if I'm interpreting this right, the spliced-in human genes grow a synthetic gland that produces boosted Klotho enzymes. It's an anti-aging scheme. There are rumors about the big biotechs experimenting with Klotho, but they haven't yet solved how to mass-produce it. This dog gland thing would solve that problem, but it's illegal, I concluded. Right. I'll send you the complete analysis. Then I'm out. I'm going to wipe all my systems. You and I have never talked. Was that a dog growling in the background? What the... Uday's phone clattered to the floor, and the line went dead. After 10 minutes, I gave up trying to reconnect. I had a bad feeling. My phone vibrated, but it wasn't a call. Breaking news. Nail salon in Manchester Industrial explodes. Gas leak suspected. Possible casualties. When I arrived, yellow safety first ink tape was everywhere, blocking access to the site. I slipped their EMS rep a handful of bills, and she held the barrier up for me. But you couldn't get that close. The blaze was so intense that the waste bins across the street had melted. There was no way Uday could have survived if he hadn't gotten out. My legs wobbled as I walked the 4 blocks back to my office. Why hadn't I learned how to look before stepping in poop? It was say genetics all over again. Damn you, Olivia. Damn me. I pulled out my phone, looked at it, then put it away. No, I was going to confront her face to face. The autocab dropped me off in front of a gated Bel Air mini castle. There was a small call box on the post. I pressed the red button. Yes? A male voice asked as I heard a servo-mounted CCTV camera swivel toward me. I'm here to see Olivia Lee. She has no meeting scheduled, the voice stated. Tell her it's Kenzo Tanaka, and I need to talk to her about Zeus. A drone-mounted camera buzzed down from some hidden nest and hovered above me, slowly circling. Suddenly, it dropped down to eye level. I've never heard of you or Zeus, a woman sounding vaguely like Olivia complained. Get lost. Blue sparks arced across the prongs of a taser mounted to the underbelly of the drone. I got the message and walked away. The drone followed me to the corner, then hovered as I receded into the night. I'm quitting. I texted to the contact number I had for Olivia. No, please don't. The response was quick. You're not Olivia Lee, I replied in all caps, adding several exclamation points. I don't work for anonymous clients who hide the truth. The dog is a chimera, and a friend may have died finding that out. My phone dinged with a message from my cryptocurrency wallet, a balance update. I had never seen such a long number in that account, or any account I owned. There's more where that came from if you stay on the case. If you walk, someone without ethics will find the dog, and the miracle it represents will disappear into the black hole of the 1%. I just want it to see the light of day so the world can benefit. You can help make that happen. Sorry to hear about your friend. It was never my intention that someone would get hurt. If I keep going, I get to rat out the perps who torched Uday's lab, and you come clean on who you really are, I demanded. Paying off a few less than reputable connections led me to a container park on Calgary's east side, where the proprietor of a shady operation called X-Mods, Entigen, yeah, obviously a fake name, wasn't happy to see me. Word on the street is, you're on the hunt for an extremely rare enzyme, Entigen grinned, revealing a nasty set of canines that lent her a vampire vibe. "And you're sure that's what you want?" She eyed me suspiciously. "Yeah," I said, getting the hint that she didn't want to talk in the open. "Step inside." It wasn't a request. She slid the container door closed behind me, then slipped me a note with a deposit code for a crypto account and an amount. Aria, that's who my client claimed to be, had given me access to a slush fund just for this, probably dirty money. I knew better than to ask. "There, done," I said, putting my phone away. A notification pinged somewhere in the back of the grimy lab. Auntie Jen consulted a terminal, nodded, then handed me a generic orange pill bottle. There was a piece of paper balled up inside. "Read the instructions, then eat the whole thing," she advised. "And don't come back if you don't get the results you're expecting." I wasn't stupid enough to eat the note. Who knew what Auntie Jen had soaked the paper in? Instead, I watched as my lighter turned it to ash. I had a name and a GPS location. And that's how I ended up pinned against a chain-link fence by an angry pack of modded dogs at Advanced Global Health Systems' Black Rock Mountain Research Compound. As the collie wolf-cross thing approached with handcuffs, my mind raced, running through everything I had brought with me on this ill-advised recon. I reached into my pack and pulled out half a corned beef on rye, ripping it from its Ziploc bag. I waved it around, then lobbed it over the pack. It had the desired effect. For a moment, the dogs became dogs. "Thank you, Pavlov." Luckily, their classical conditioning hadn't been modded out. In the resulting chaos, I scrambled back over the fence and ran into the trees. The pack jumped and howled, banging against the chain link. Like a squirrel in a tree, they eventually lost interest. I circled the compound until I heard voices where the fence was interrupted by a building wall. 4 staff members dressed in green scrubs stood outside, a propped-open emergency exit sneaking a smoke. It made me love bad habits. One of them checked the time, and they all butted out to head inside. I waited until the last one had gone in, then rushed the door just in time to wedge a stick in before the arm automatically pulled it closed. I was in and had hit the jackpot. The hall was lined with glass-fronted kennels whose wary occupants tracked me as I walked by, checking each one. Most were pigs, popular in underground labs for growing human organs and highly illegal. Their pens had labels like liver or heart, 40% or 70% mature. I was in an organ farm for the elite. No wonder this place wasn't on any maps. One label suddenly stood out. Ready for harvest. Even before I reached the pen, a faint whimpering told me I had hit pay dirt. Zeus was at the back, shivering, abdomen already shaved. "Good boy," I assured. The sheepadoodle stopped whimpering and sniffed, but stayed put. A door slammed somewhere down the hall. "Zeus?" The dog's ears swiveled toward me. "I'm going to get you out of here." He seemed to know I wasn't there to hurt him, and edged cautiously toward me. Did an understanding of human intention come with human DNA? "Good boy." His elegant coiffed tail wagged uncertainly. I found a leash hanging on the wall and clipped it to Zeus's collar, then poked my head out into the hall. No one was in sight. "Come on." Zeus followed me as we trotted to the emergency exit. Sunlight spilled in through a crack between the door and the frame. The stick I had jammed into the hinge was still there. We burst out into the snow, temporarily blinded by the glare.
"How convenient,"
a silhouetted woman laughed. I shaded my eyes. Zeus whined, tugging at the leash, backing up. Olivia Lee's look-alike blocked our way, and she had brought 4 mean-looking friends. "How'd you—" "Find you?" she smirked. "The first time we met when we shook hands, a microdermal tracker dug into your palm." I looked at my right hand. There was a tiny dot interrupting my lifeline. Years of surveilling errand spouses had made me sloppy. The old Kenzo would have checked his hands every time he met someone new. I scratched at it until the thing popped out. A little late, Mr. Tanaka. It served its purpose. Thanks for delivering Zeus to me. Now, Zeus, come. The dog didn't move. Not quite so fast, I growled, channeling my inner cop. I'm guessing Zeus isn't yours. And what should I call you? Vale is obviously an alias. Does it even matter? You're never going to tell me who you are or who you're working for, but I at least want to know why a colleague of mine got torched because of this dog. Vale, probably an organ broker, nodded at her henchman, and they surrounded us. Just in case you're thinking of running? I don't like dogs much, Mr. Tanaka, so I hid Zeus in that outrageously expensive pet daycare while the gland matured. Just another designer dog amongst many. Hidden in plain sight, and it almost worked. Someone at the daycare must have figured it out and tipped off another interested party. Mr. Tanaka, I hired you because you were off the radar, a washed-up IP agent no corporate would trust, the last person to be handed a case like this. So no one, except me, would be watching you. And here I thought you came to me because I was the best. I laughed nervously, racking my brain for a way out. Dream on, Mr. Tanaka. That dog represents years of research, and from what I'm told, might not be duplicable. The gene hacker I stole it from didn't fully understand why Zeus could grow a human-compatible Klotho excreting gland, after hundreds of failed pig trials made it look impossible. So why hit Uday, I asked. I don't know. That wasn't me. Guess one of the bigger players caught wind of his discovery and didn't want it slipping out. Rumor had it that Uday couldn't keep secrets, and that gland can add 30, maybe 40 years to someone's life, and right now it's the only one in existence. Let's just say my client doesn't have the time to wait for a big biotech to figure out how to replicate Zeus, then lobby to make chimeras legal. If you had a limited runway in front of you, what would you pay for another few decades, Mr. Tanaka? She was right. The dog, or rather, the genetically engineered gland it had grown, was worth a few billion, maybe more, to the right buyer, pocket change for a 1%er. Zeus was so hot that the snow he was sitting on should have been turning to steam. Suddenly, there was a ruckus behind me, barking in angry voices. Hybrid security dogs and guards boiled out of the emergency door. The dogs raced out in front. Give me the dog, Vale growled, lurching toward me. I reached into my pack and pulled out the last half of my corned beef sandwich, smearing it on Vale, trusting in Pavlov's classical conditioning again. What the was all Vale could get out before the lead guard dog leapt on her. Guess it had acquired a taste for corned beef. In the chaos, Zeus and I ran for the trees. We kept running until we found my rented car. Zeus hopped in, and I started back to Calgary, then stopped. Corporate would be checking those routes. Well, buddy, what should I do with you? Zeus, in the passenger seat, looked at me, head tilted, with big brown eyes. You could set me up on Easy Street, boy. One sale, and I'd never have to hide again. The dog licked the shaved spot on its abdomen, then it wagged its tail. Guess I'm a sucker for cute. I turned south instead of east. I've got a friend you need to meet, boy. When an agent from Advanced Global Health System Security walked through my door a day later, I wasn't surprised. Mr. Kenzo, I'm Agent Fox, AGH Systems. Mind if I sit down? Sure, go ahead. I motioned to the empty chair in front of my desk. The man examined it, then chose to stand. I guess I should clean that someday. I gave him a Pan Am smile. You broke into one of our properties the other day, Fox said in his best threatening tone. The back door was open and I was cold. I'm not the best hiker. Guess I should have dressed warmer. My bad. I kept my Pan Am smile glued to my face. Wow, all those pigs. What do you do with them? Hey, if I need a lung or something, think you guys could help me out? We understood each other, but I knew he had to ask. What happened to the dog? Hey man, if someone left a pen open and something followed me out of your facilities, then slipped into the forest, that's not on me. Fox nodded, pointing his index and middle finger at his eyes before flipping them at me. He turned and left. So much for my anonymity. I was getting tired of lying low in the zone anyway. Maybe it was time for a change. I pulled up my account statement. Not too shabby, even without a final payment from Vale or whoever she was. Right on time, the message app on my terminal dinged. So you turned the dog over to AGH, Vale accused. She was either sitting across the street or had a drone watching the strip mall. Nothing I hadn't expected. No. I took him to the farm. Look it up if you don't understand the idiom, I messaged back. Idiot, I would have cut you in on the sale, she lied. You owe me. I'll be watching. Just what I needed. Drones and bugs from a hostile client and her business associates. I turned the terminal off, flicked on the wall screen and watched the news feeds. Nothing about a break-in at AGH's Black Rock Mountain facility. They didn't want attention, and neither did I. Despite being a dump, I would miss this office. I'm not out to save the world or stop corruption, but maybe someday doing the right thing might have a better payout. One can hope, right? There's a secondary meaning to taking a dog to the farm, a literal one. I pulled open my desk drawer, grabbed the bottle of cheap scotch I kept there for occasions like this, and took a big swig. Here's to you, Zeus. Hope you enjoy herding cows.
If you enjoyed this story, please share it with your friends or leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps new listeners find us and keeps the podcast going. If you'd like to connect with us, please email makeshiftstories@gmail.com or visit our website at makeshiftstories.com. Makeshift Stories is released in the first week of each month. This month's story was written by Vern Hume, a.k.a. Alan V. Hare, and read by Stephen Peterson. Opening and closing themes were composed and recorded by Matthew Erdman. Audio production and editing by Vocata Studios. Makeshift Stories is released under a Creative Commons non-commercial. Attribution, no derivative license.